6.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for having us here. I appreciate the engineering sciences course letting us present today. I'm looking around here and I know exactly what all of you are thinking here. This is the famous Timothy Ferris standing in front of you speaking right now. Just a little bit shorter in person, I understand. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Princeton graduate and the author of the best-selling novel, or New York Times best-selling novel, The 4-Hour Workweek. Now, all of you are looking at me, and you can see, obviously, I'm well-dressed, well-educated, very handsome. You must be a millionaire, you're all thinking. Actually, I'm not. And even more importantly, I don't inspire to be one. Before continuing on in this presentation, I was hoping I could ask the audience a question. Is that okay?
Sure, audience.
There's an eager audience member right there that I'd like to call up. Could you please stand up in front of everyone? You look like a Greg Pelton to me. Is that your name?
That it is.
Okay. Greg, what's your concept, or what definition do you have for the concept of what is rich?
What is rich? Being able to buy whatever you want, whenever you want, without having to worry about it.
Exactly the answer I'm looking for. I'm here to tell you that this sort of traditional concept of rich is completely out of date. In my new book, The 4-Hour Workweek, I'm presenting a new concept known as the new rich. Now, this new concept of the new rich doesn't necessarily deal with the 9-to-5 drudgery that you deal with on a daily basis. In fact, you could work much less than that. And here today, I'm here presenting to you the idea of what this new rich lifestyle is through the help of 4 of my employees who I hired and outsourced to explain this for me in full representation of the millionaire lifestyle. And they're going to explain it to you using 4 letters: D, E, A, L. We're gonna go a little bit more carefully into that and a little bit more thoroughly. But I want to let you, as this presentation goes along today, I just want you guys to have in your mindset that this is a new way to innovate your lifestyle. So please pay very close attention, because these 4 letters will actually be the key to your success. So if I could call up Pin first for the first letter, definition.
So our first step is definition. And what we want to do is really define your life. And how are you going to define your life? What Tim says is you got to think of your life as a game. And in order to beat this game, you're not going to play the game like a game. Tim has a great story, actually, of how he was the national champion of the Chinese kickboxing team. So I'm just going to give it to him for a few seconds.
If I could just interject.
It's a really good story.
Obviously, I like talking about myself a lot. I like talking, so at various points in this presentation, I'm going to interject briefly. But I feel like this story from my lifestyle is very important to definition, because it really sort of captures the value that you get from definition when approaching sort of your own lifestyle. It is a true story. I was the national champion of kickboxing in China. And I was able to achieve that through one simple method. I read the rules, okay? In the rules, it states very clearly that if an opponent falls off the platform 3 times, the other opponent is declared the winner. I read that very specifically, and I implemented that in the tournament. Along with that, I also fought in a weight class 18 pounds, much less than mine. So I think what Pin's going to exemplify with this section right here is that you need to make a distinction between your own self-imposed rules and the official rules. In doing that, you can go through the next part of this process very easily. Go ahead, Ben.
So by defining your life, what you're doing is imagining you don't like how everyone else is living their life. They're doing a 9-to-5 struggle, and the outcomes isn't really what you want. So what you're going to do is just not play the game like everyone else is playing it. So how are you going to do that? And we have what's called some rules that change rules. The first one is that the timing is never right. What we mean by that is basically you're thinking right now, oh, someday I'm going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or eventually I'll go skydiving. But why not do that now, right? You've got the resources, you're at the height of your life, 20, 21 years old. Why not do that now? Why wait until retirement? What Tim is saying is that you don't need the money in order to do that. You should be putting your mini retirements within your work style or work method right now. Because we really do need a time to work and a time to play, because that's how we can survive. Now you're thinking, well, how am I going to do that? I still have to work, I still have to study, I don't have the resources to be doing that right now. But in reality, you have to understand that money is not going to buy everything. So going from that, we're going to go, so how are you going to change courses? How are you going to go from your 9-to-5 work style to a 4-hour work week? And what we can do is really look at your life now and define your nightmare. So imagine you have a business, you are working day in, day out, and you decide that you're going to go and take the Euro trip you always wanted to do. What's the worst that could happen? One, you're overseas, your business is shot. You forget to read a letter, and suddenly the company's suing you, and by the end of the week, you have no more money. And you're thinking, all right, now my life is done, but what am I going to do now? But if you take a step back and you really think about it, you understand that really, you could just get another job, you could just stop eating out so much, and really now you can reassess your life, and now that you know what fears you have, you can reevaluate. The last step, right before I go to Andreas, is the only thing you want to do is set goals for yourself. And the most important step that you want in setting goals for yourself is to be as unrealistic as possible. By being unrealistic, you're setting yourself goals that have so much adrenaline, so much endurance for you that you can go and jump those mountains and actually reach your goals. If you're setting yourself realistic goals, then what you're saying is like, oh, okay, whatever payoff I'm going to get to is going to be so mediocre that your efforts are going to be just as mediocre. So having all these in mind, having some rules that can change rules, unrealistic goals, and really thinking in a mindset of doing things now, we can start getting to work.
And that work comes in the form of elimination. And hopefully you'll understand this little piece of paper as I go through what elimination entails. So the model that I'd like you to adopt from now on is accomplish more by doing less. In adopting this motto, you make a promise to yourself to eliminate frivolous tasks and focus on that which is actually important. Because too many people often make themselves unnecessarily and falsely busy. Busy is merely a form of laziness that stems from unfocused thought and indiscriminate action. Doing something unimportant very well will not make it important, and neither will spending a gratuitous amount of time on it. So you want to shrink the amount of time that you spend on anything that is frivolous. The first of two laws that I will present to you today. A task will swell in perceived importance and complexity in relation to the time allotted for its completion. So, I call this, or this has been called Parkinson's Law, but I like to call it the, oh my God, I only have 8 hours in order to complete this essay law. And you know, given the short deadline, you will still produce just about the same results that you would if you had allotted a month for the completion of the same task. So, shorter deadlines, same results. The work that you should do will be efficient, but more importantly, effective. And many people tend to confuse these concepts. Efficiency entails completing tasks very quickly. Effectiveness, on the other hand, means that you are making progress towards actual goals. None of the BS. Second law that I want you to remember for the day is Pareto's Law. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, especially if you've been attending all of the lectures here. The 80-20 law, originally stated as 80% of the wealth in the world is allotted to 20% population. But you can apply the same law to many other aspects of life, especially your own personal life. Think about it. For myself, about 80% of the work that I do is actually done in about 20% of the time that I spend on it. Facebook is probably one of the main causes for that. Or that 80% of your unhappiness is caused by a mere 20% of your sources.
Thank you, Andres, for alluding that I am the source of all your problems. Yes. But I love this section of the entire DEAL sequence because, number one, limits my to-do list. The elimination aspect, obviously, it makes things a little bit more simpler. But on the other hand, it makes things simpler, but it also simplifies a lot of the problems that you have. And I feel like this is an appropriate time to bring in sort of a lifestyle example that I had with this segment. I was looking at advertising for the book that I was releasing, and I realized that 20% of the advertisements were generating 80% of the revenue. So in order to sort of minimize costs, I found the similarities and generalities between the top 20% of those advertisements, simply made that as the template for future advertisements, and cut off the remaining 80%. With that, revenues grew 70%.
And of course, that increased his happiness as well.
Obviously, I'm not paying these guys enough money. They're doing a very good job.
So what you must aim for yourself is to cut that out which does the most damage to you, and to maximize that which can bring you the most benefits. I'm serious. Think about this. Sit down for yourself and apply the 80-20 law to different parts of your own life. I challenge you to take about 3 hours over the next 3 days to just lay these things out and then trim all of that. Time wasters such as email or Facebook, your cell phone, meetings, whatever else, newspapers, news, anything, trim it. Find the people that spend gratuitous amounts of time on this, source them, get summaries, and let that be that. Focus on what is actually the most important. And slowly but surely, you can ease yourself out of the so-called workspace. You can shrink yourself down to those 4 hours that Tim was talking about. And in doing so, you will be more successful and more happy than you've ever been in your whole entire life. But since I don't want to go into too much more detail, I said about 3 minutes in order to explain this to you. I'll leave it to Mark in order to explain automation.
Hi. Since these guys talk so much, I'm going to be real quick. 2 things I want you to remember. Never automate stuff, automate things you can eliminate. What's the point? Are we losing time, or are we going to win time? Are we looking for time, or are we wasting time here? Second thing, never delegate stuff you can automate, because that's the thing. We want to automate stuff. Everything we can have virtual machine, virtual assistant to do for you, we just want these people, these machines to do it for you. Apart from that, I'm going to outsource, since we've been talking a lot about outsourcing, the rest of the presentation to Mark, the other one, so he can continue.
Thanks, Mike. So we have L coming up, liberation. So what does liberation really mean? Timothy Ferriss defines a new middle class as not being bound to your job. And so one great example is there's a man talking to a Mexican fisherman, and he says to the Mexican fisherman, how much fish did you catch? Like, how did this go? Did it take you a long time? And the guy said, oh no, it's easy. I just caught a few and it was good. And the man says, wait, what? So why didn't you catch more? He said, I had enough. I didn't need more. So then he asked the man, and he said, wait, what do you do with your time then? He said, oh, I wake up late, I spend time with my kids, a little siesta with my wife, and play guitar with my amigos. And so the guy's like, oh, wait, hold on. I'll fix your life here. I'm a Harvard MBA, I know where you're going to go. You're going to catch a little bit more fish, sell a little more fish, make some money, get more boats, expand, move to LA, move to NYC, sell for 20 million, it's going to be great. The guy says, okay, so 20 million, then what? He said, oh, well, it'll be good, you'll be rich, you can come back here, you can just like sleep in late, you can spend time with your kids. Like, so you see the problem here. Like, people are thinking that the ends that we really want is to be rich, but that's just a means. We're putting too much importance in something that really just gets us to where we want, and forgetting that the money isn't really necessarily what we want to get to. So liberation is really just about reevaluating what it means, what we want, and how we think we want to get there. And we learned over and over in this class that we want to see our situation, redefine it, reframe it, and figure out what we really want for either the problem we're solving, or in this case, your life. So I ask you to think about what you really want, and if that turns out to be just going to moving to a farm, forgetting about money, just following what you really want, then, sorry, then, thank you. If that's what you really want, then I suggest just go for it. I mean, that's what's going to make you happy. So reframe your life, reframe your goals. It'll be good. Thanks.
As a final sort of wrap up, I know you guys are about to clap your hands. I just want you guys to remember DEAL. Definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. This is the keys to success. Thank you very much for having us.
Next would be Lauren.